Hello and welcome to Wheel Footy, the most well-travelled wheelchair football show on YouTube, probably. This one's definitely coming to you late as I spent a rather nice weekend getting up to all sorts of footy-related shenanigans in Melbourne. We'll get there though. Let's start with Queensland. Queensland only had the one game for us this week, the grand final between Morningside and Ormeau. Now, I predicted this would be an easy win to Morningside, and I was indeed correct. In a masterful display, they kept the Bulldogs to 1 goal to three-quarter time, with friend of the channel Michael Dobby Bridges not only underlining his league goal-kicking winning season with 10 goals, but ending the season on 69. Nice. Josh Boyle appears to have taken a more midfield-based role in this one. Please correct me if I am wrong, as goals went to Xavier Wittig and Zach Carlson, with Tristan Orchard getting a major as well, his first of the year. Ash Holt was also listed in the best players, as I believe they were in Morningside's other final. So congratulations to Morningside on a splendid undefeated season, 11 wins and 1 draw in the regular season, with a mighty percentage of 408. Imperious. And also congratulations again to MDB on the leading scorer. Queensland may well be a force to be reckoned with at this year's Wheelchair Nationals. Unfortunately, that's all we've probably got for the state until then. So let's move to Victoria. I was very, very fortunate to be able to watch the VWFL semi-final. I got to grips with the standard of the competition with the Community League, which is essentially the reserves, where Richmond and Essendon registered convincing but not blowout wins against Collingwood and the Saints, respectively, with the Saints being knocked out and the Pies facing the Dons next weekend in the prelim. Huge thanks to Harry, who's been around the GAZ-man community here on the channel for quite a while, for guiding me through the day and being a great chat as we launch into what we're here for, the finals. I'll start with Collingwood Essendon, the winner of this one, facing the loser of the semi-final, which will be next week in the prelim. And this one was never really that close past half-time, despite the efforts of the Bombers forwards. Incidentally, a massive shout-out to Bailey and I believe Jess, hope I'm remembering your name right, for doing the live scoring, which has given me at least some intel on the season. Bailey's been doing great work in the stats field, particularly for inclusivity sport in Victoria, so well done, mate. And if the VWFL ever gets advanced stat tracking back up and running, give me a call. So Collingwood won in a relative canter. Here's the scores behind me. I didn't really get to watch it because I was too busy watching the other game, the semi-final, which was genuinely one of the best matches in any footy code that I've ever seen. I hadn't watched a VWFL championship game to this point, so I was taken aback at the raw speed that the game was played at. So were Richmond against a lightning-quick Saints. With Ryan Smith starting in the guts, the forward line of a fleet-wheeled Gronners and Seb Welsh piled on 5 goals in only 3 minutes and 13 seconds, thanks to superb use of the ground ball. I wish this opening was recorded. The difference between this and the more kick-and-mark style of the SANFL was really night and day, and shows the versatility of tactics within the wheelchair sport. Welsh, who I only learned on the day won't even be old enough to drink a beer to celebrate a premiership next season, got his 3rd, and the score was 36-0, 5 minutes in. A drubbing was not on the cards though, as Richmond sharpened up. League leading scorer Chris Kotsanis scored 3 to narrow the Saints' gap to 24 at the break, with the combined scores being 11 goals, 0. That's just incredible conversion, and that continued throughout the game. One change I also noticed compared to the SA League was that the forwards, who were wearing different wristband colours to SA, so I spent the entire first term in a state of confusion, were allowed to score anywhere in the first 2 thirds, as opposed to the usual 1/3. This seemed to drag defences higher up the ground, making each centre clearance an absolute melee and contributing to the importance of the ground ball in the Victorian game. Tisha Shadwell in particular threw herself into contests and took a couple of hard falls in quick succession, but getting straight back up and immediately winning big clearances. In part thanks to a newfound midfield ascendancy with Shadwell's efforts, the Tigers stormed the second term, keeping the Saints to only a single minor score, with big CK6 adding another 3 and his strike partner in Ange Mavroudis also chipping in 2 goals, which gave the Tigers side a slim half-time lead. Seb Welsh wasn't having that, the largely built literal child dominating the airways, giving the Saints the lead back. The Saints' defence prioritised the dangerous Kotsanis, only shipping it behind to him this term. Welsh nailed his 3rd near the bell for the quarter to give the Saints a 16-point advantage with 10 minutes left. The final quarter was a tense, slow-scoring tussle that belied the first three terms and really underlined the finals atmosphere of this game. The Saints opened the last with 2 minor scores, and that made the gap 18, and for a second it looked as if the dreaded spectre of a finals draw would once again haunt St Kilda as Kotsanis lowered the gap to 12. But again, the hero was Seb Welsh, who, with 2 minutes left, converted a major that started the celebrations on the sidelines.
45 seconds, 3-goal lead.
So if you want to send this to me, I'll go.
Absolutely, I will. GAZ-man, 30 seconds. Saints in a final to beat the outright premiership favourites. This will take them straight to the grand final. Tigers will play the Pies next week. How good is this, ladies and gentlemen? Ronna's got the ball on the back line. Nothing anyone can do. Nick's been good all day. Seb's been even better. Ryan's done his part. And here's the siren. Yeah! How good!
A junk time goal to Mavrudis and an after the siren long bomb from captain Nick Bryant concluded the scoring in a 19-point win to the Saints over the previously undefeated Richmond. Not that I'm biased or anything. Oh God, how did that get around my neck? This means that Richmond face the Pies next week, and this result splits the flag race wide open. St Kilda's ability to chuck Smith into the midfield and rotate a second forward option gives them real aces up their sleeves in attack, and their defence showed in the second half that they could blanket the power forward of the league in CK6, who only got 1 goal 2 in the final 21 minutes of game time. I've been told that the VWFL games from the remaining 2 weeks of play will be streamed, and I'd recommend checking those out. More than likely they'll be on the Facebook page of the VWFL, if not the individual clubs involved, so get around it. I really loved the experience there at Parkville. The clubs were involved, bringing dedicated staff and videographers, and the whole thing felt really professionally run. There was even an ex-AFL Premiership player there. I won't name him as he didn't come to this game for the attention, just to enjoy time and the day with his family, and everyone there was extremely respectful of his privacy and space. I even resisted the temptation to walk over there, say hi, and based on prior trends, make an ass out of myself by asking him to set me up with Melanie Bracewell or something. Lastly, I'd like to give a final shout out to Gabrielle, who's made these fantastic SANFL and VFL badges. Here we go, here's Ryan Smith, if I can get the focus right, there we go. Chris Kotsanis, CK6 of course. Get focused, there we go. This thing's focusing like me in a math class. And then a couple of the Norwood heroes at the moment. Excellent work. These are absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much for these. I will cherish these and definitely wear these to the games and annoy the Norwood guys going forward. And thanks to everyone on the day who I got to have a chat with as well. Now, speaking of Norwood, they were first cab off the rank in the sample action on Friday night. Before we get into that though, I just want to stop and say I've finally done my stats for round 1 of the SNFL League. I'm happy to say they basically match up to the official stats in an acceptable degree. I have my own definition on what a 1%er and tackle are, but I'm content enough in my methods to continue. This also means I have a round 1 team of the week, so we'll go through that very quickly. With many of the Eagles stars out, we have a bit of an eclectic mix. Our forwards are Central's Stuart Webster with a round high 8 goals, and West's Yang Dan, who really produced a mega score of 199 rotating around all positions. Sean Whitbread, after a 44 touch 6 assist game with 11 Acts I-class of 1%ers, takes the midfield spot, whilst our backline again stars Jack Billsborough, who chipped in with 3 goals that day, and Norwood's sole starter in this side in Richard Davis, whose badge you just saw earlier, whose lockdown work was also stellar. The bench contains Trevor Jarrett, who played midfield in the absence of Adam Roke and still did magnificently, as well as Central's ever-reliable swingman Darren Peters and Norwood's Rick Leonard. But back to the present, well, at least the very recent past. And if the camera quality changes, that's because my SLR battery is literally about to run out. Norwood was up first against the West Adelaide outfit, much improved from the last record-shattering encounter between these two sides. Again, West scored first, a behind and a goal to Yang Dan, giving them a 7-point lead. It was a lead Jamie Smythe needed all of a minute to reel in with 2 majors, and from there Norwood were never close to being headed. It was harder work for Norwood this time though, as the game lacked the free-flowing, easy-scoring nature of the last fixture. Norwood were forced to be a bit more methodical, and after a slog of a start, became clinical. Grant Leonard had his his best game for the year, winning a tough battle with Jack Billsborough, which was absolutely fantastic to watch, and slotting 9 majors and set up 4 of his strike partner Jamie Smythe's 10. Combined, both forwards only missed 2 of their 21 shots. Outrageous. West generated chances of their own, only registering 6 less forays into the forward third, but Norwood's typical 3-man defensive rotation kept them out handily. Chris Simpson has been a major part of this all year, and he's been threatening to put up massive single-game numbers only to do the team thing and rotate off the bench. Here's everyone's stat feeder points divided by the amount of minutes they've played. Of those who've played more than an hour of footy this year, Simpson ranks very, very highly. In this game, for the first time, he got 4 minutes, and he made the most of it. 4 one-on-one defensive contests won, a mark that's been hit by full teams 3 times prior to round 6. 43 touches, 14 forward zone entries, 7 spoils, 3 intercept marks and 2 goal assists for 205 points. By far the greatest defensive performance of the year. He was a joy to watch. Every Norwood player did well. There were no second-rate performers. For West, their disposal inefficiency was, again, telling. They certainly didn't want for effort around the ball, but still need to see more of the ball in possession and just use it a little bit better. Yang Dan again led from the front and put in good shifts at both ends. Mysko did well against multiple opponents who consistently rotated to stay fresh. Billsborough battled manfully against a very much informed Grant Leonard, and Shitty chipped in with another 4 goals to snatch the club's leading goal kicker title for now. Again, it's an improvement shown from a hard-fighting West outfit and more positive signs for what is a long-term project. An undermanned Central Districts then rolled up to face the juggernaut that is Woodville West Torrens. It looked ugly early. Central's got the first 4 touches of the game, but failed to see the ball again until the Eagles had scored 3 quick goals. However, Sean Whitbread sparked to life, sweeping up into the midfield, getting 2 clearances and finishing off both moves with majors. Stuart Webster picked up on this momentum and scored 2 goals of his own, and amazingly, Centrals went into quarter time with a 6-point lead. It's the only time outside of the forfeit match in round 1 that the Eagles had trailed at any break this season. Incredible. Centrals not only stuck with the Eagles in the second, but lifted the intensity, so much so that a couple of Dogs' runs were halted as Eagles had fallen out of their chairs in their haste. A goal sourced from one of these stoppages, which nullified a Bulldogs mark, and a goal coming from an assist pass that had travelled across all 3 thirds, which you can't do, represented the gap at half-time and a source of consternation for Centrals, but it didn't matter much, though. The Dogs wouldn't make a single rotation all game, and it began to show halfway through the third. Trevor Jarrett gapped them with 3 quick goals in a row, opening the margin up to 6 goals at the final change, and Centrals were totally gone by the last. They only scored 2 points in it as the Eagles played keepings-off possession football for most of the quarter. In contrast to Norwood's basketball-esque rotations, the only sub of the game was made with 70 seconds left, Jarrett coming off after goal number 12, replaced by Izzy Nitschke. She managed a shot even, but it was from long range and it fell short. In terms of star performers, well, if you're a follower of this series, you know whose name I'm going to say first. Adam Roque was averaging 48.5 touches before this game, and his 51 for this one somehow lifted that average. 34 marks, 15 inside 50, 6 goal assists, we've been here before. But he did set a season high of 14 clearances by my count, and there wasn't much he didn't do on his way to 212 stat feeder points. Jarrett's 12 goals were mainly as a poacher, and so his 149 points was a season low for him. Meanwhile, this was the best game so far for Wayne Hale, who matched Simpson's 4 contest wins, although at a lower win rate, got 37 kicks at 100% efficiency, had 6 rebounds, and was a huge factor in shutting down Central's offence, particularly Webster, in the second half. It was a big game for Sean Whitbread on the other side, who collected 7 centre clearances, 4 intercepts and 10 forward zone entries in an all-round performance, but a low disposal efficiency for his role as a link man and 3 goals for robbed him of the chance to register potentially a double ton in points. Jason Tippins and James Barker were dogged all day, and Henry DeCure also had some great moments, winning 3 defensive contests himself, a couple against Jarrett actually, which was a real highlight. Webster's 4 goals sees him passed by Grant Leonard for 3rd in the goal-kicking stakes, at least by my numbers, whilst Jarrett extends his lead at the top by 2. In terms of VORP standings, Adam Roki continues to make an absolute joke of my system by completely ruining every other midfield's ratings. Chris Simpson moves up into second overall. Whitbread and Dan both take up 2 spots in the top 10 due to their positional utility. And Billsborough and Leonard fall slightly despite good games of their own this week. My team of the week, of course, starts Roki in the centre as per usual. Then the team has some issues as I look for the team of the week to meet similar points restrictions to a regular team in terms of disability. So without knowing everyone's exact points, it's kind of tough. So to ensure I clear it, I picked Sean Whitbread over Jamie Smythe up forward, both scoring the same amount of stat feeder points this week, with Grant Leonard getting the second forward spot on merit. If you're wondering why my face is gone, the camera battery has run out with about a minute of script left, and I'm just going to do this live. Simpson and Hale, after massive weeks, take the back 2 spots, marking the first week that neither Billsborough nor Habib have locked down a starting spot. Habib gets on the bench with fellow Eagle Jarrett. Wait, he's not there. Okay, well, Smythe has taken his place instead with a better all-round performance, although Jarrett is stiff to miss his first team of the week this year, with Darren Schutz earning the final spot by putting up monster numbers for only 2/3 of game time. So that's a different episode of Wheel Footy this week, with no more Queensland games left and with less VWFL footy plus reliable streaming. Expect me to elaborate more on the Victorian action for the rest of the final series. Once again, thanks to Gabrielle, Harry and Bailey in particular, and to everyone else who had a chat with me in Melbourne, and I'll see you next week.